You know, Stephan's always been mischievous. You can see it in his films, but he's also really honest about his, at times, tumultuous career.
I was armed with a Super 8 camera.
Oh, what you got there, love? Look at that.
No cameras tonight?
I captured everything
Oh, I think I'm gonna hurl.
in the hope I could edit together
The next game is called Swinging Safari.
Oh, I'm in.
what was going through our poor, misguided heads.
Swinging Safari had been in my head my entire life. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's kind of out there now about, you know, how autobiographical it is. It wasn't, it was. I'd collected the stories of my childhood and very much, you know, very much Lizzie Gardner and I, as my costume designer, we have a friendship going back a long way, and it was very much a story of she and I as kids, trying to make sense of, you know, the decade that time and taste forgot. And so I always said I'm going to do this one day, and then the time came up and it was just like, right, we're doing it. We're just doing it.
I want to go back to the beginning. How did you get into this industry?
Well, there's a lot of people out there in the world that have wedding videos directed by Stephan Elliot. That's honestly the truth. The first jobs were, I was the first weddingographer, probably in the world. Like it or not, that actually was an experience of learning how to direct.
And then making your own films.
My first script I wrote was Frauds in about 1992, and it got accepted to competition in Cannes. And that's the happy side of that story. The unhappy side of that story is I made my first film. It was bought by Coralco, which was a huge company in the 80s. They did all the Terminator films. The film was bought for North America by them. I was really excited. We had North American sale. I'm like 26, and it's all very exciting. And then I finished the film, and the first thing they did was fire me. And they shipped the entire cutting room to Los Angeles. They fired everyone and recut the film and locked me out of my cutting room. So that was a year of absolute torture, and that really is the genesis of why I've never worked in America. It was the worst year of my life. And next, you know, the film suddenly was in competition in Cannes, and like this nightmare had suddenly, and I had to walk up that red carpet, you were there, with a plastered smile on my face, having been through hell. But thankfully on the way there, somebody said, look, you've got to have a follow-up film. You can't go to Cannes without what's next. And I really didn't know what was next. So Al Clark had said, you know, any ideas floating around? And I said, well, I've got this idea about 3 drag queens on a bus.
I hereby christen this budget Barbie camper Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Come on, girls. Let's go shopping.
It's the making of Priscilla. Now, I mean, Terence Stamp, getting Terence Stamp in that film, what did you have to do?
I hate this question. I hate this question more than life itself. I could murder her right now. Casting Priscilla was a nightmare, and Polygram, who'd given us the money, had actually said, stick a name in it. Any name. We don't care who it is. Stick a name in and you got your money. Colin Firth, very, very close. Rupert Everett was absolutely doing it and pulled out last minute. I mean, Tony Curtis, Tim Curry. I mean, you name it. We were after any star, and we'd hit 300 no's.
Casting of Hugo and Guy in that as well, you know, I mean, they were really interesting, and boy, did that film create a lot of careers. It re-energised Terence's career.
You know, all of them, and even the crew as well. Everyone, that little gem gave something to everyone. Even every crew member went on to do really amazing things. So yeah, it was, you know, we call it the gift that keeps on giving.
This impulse in you to be excessive, to burst out on screen, where does that come from?
There's this child in me. I mean, I do have a child in me, and the child, I find, is what fuels me. And when I get cornered, the child takes over. And it's very badly behaved. He's a naughty boy. And I had, just by chance one day, I was at a restaurant in Los Angeles, and I had dinner with Morris Sadek, who wrote Where the Wild Things Are. And after one meal, he spun around and he said, you have a leaky tap to your childhood. Never let them turn it off. Am I successful? Am I not successful? No, but I do find that little fire in me that kind of makes it worth it. Kind of makes going to work worth it.